Hey there, my Jaiden Nation. This video was a video I plan to do in a long time, whether or not posting vent art is okay or not. So before I jump into it, please join the Jaiden Nation. It really helps me. You get cool perks, and you're a part of a really cool nation. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps me very much. Also, like the video when you're on the way up. Thank you. So I'm going to actually jump into it. Argument. It's not okay to post it because it may trigger others. In the argument of opposition to vent art, it is believed that expressing yourself and letting out your emotions can be triggering. For example, if someone posted vent art about their experiences with sexual assault, that could trigger people, and that is bad. What's the cost of expressing yourself if it can only hurt others? While the pro argument rebuttals saying that you could just put trigger warnings on your content, and if they don't look at with discretion, they can be triggered, and that is on the viewer. Duchess Celestia has even made an argument saying that she has scrolled down on Twitter and saw vent art that triggered her, and that was her fault because, well, she had the chance to be triggered while looking stuff up on Twitter. And, well, she took that chance, so that was on her part for viewing some of it. Someone else has stated that it is not the artist's fault if someone gets upset at their art, as they have no control over how someone feels about it. Some people's take is that trigger warnings aren't going to help at all. Madison Brown has made a whole video about explaining her opinion on trigger warnings as someone who is diagnosed with PTSD. So watch that video if you're interested in her take. But to give a synopsis, she says the best way to deal with your trauma is to face it head on. She talks about exposure therapy and how it can help on triggers and trauma. She says it is ineffective because triggers are random and you can't predict that. She says that you can't expect people to accommodate that because the world's a triggering place, and she stated that it's not just to your friends but also to strangers. She even says that the world doesn't care about your trauma, and that's just a hard lesson people should learn. The video is linked in the bio. For my take, I think it's fine to post vent art as long as you put it under the right hashtags and give a proper warning. For example, someone posted their TraumaCore vent art under the Hello Kitty hashtag, and someone said that vent art traumatizes somebody's 12-year-old cousin because, well, it was under the Hello Kitty hashtag when the 12-year-old was just looking for innocent Hello Kitty posts. There's a time and place for everything, and I do believe putting your vent art isn't a good place to put in a general chat in a Discord server or putting it in the Hello Kitty subreddit. However, if someone has put the trigger warnings needed, put it in the right place for their vent art, and someone gets triggered, yeah, it's not the artist's responsibility. For example, I went to listen to Tyler, the Creator's album, Goblin, knowing about all the matters that he was going to talk about, and I still got triggered, and that was on me. Because, well, choosing to listen to me even though I know it would upset me. Is that Tyler's fault? No. Tyler doesn't know me, and he shouldn't have to censor himself for me because, well, the world doesn't revolve around me. And to be frank, it would be too late since it has been 13 years since the album came out, so it will be pointless. Or here's another. One of the songs from My Chemical Romance's album Danger Days mentioned a place in one of the songs that triggered me. By the way, it wasn't anything taboo, it was just the word emergency room. By the way, if you use that in the comments, I won't be triggered because, well, I faced that front on and I'm not triggered by it. Okay, thanks. Plus that triggered me like years ago, so it's not too bad. Is it Gerard's fault who wrote the song because he mentioned a trigger of mine at the time? No. Because he wrote that 13 years ago. He doesn't know me and he doesn't know my trigger list. And even if I did tell him, hey, your song triggered me, change it or put a trigger warning for it, Gerard probably won't because he's busy working on his new comic or something. Plus, music doesn't have trigger warnings last time I checked. Do I believe there should be warnings on art for sexual assault, rape, pedophilia, and very touchy subjects? Yes, but putting trigger warnings for Among Us or Poop Doop Goop isn't worth it. I know humans can be triggered by whatever because a bad memory can be associated with Hello Kitty and the human brain is coded to forget it, but I know tons of people who have experienced trauma such as rape, sexual, pedophilia, and much worse traumatizing events that could happen to a person and believe that trigger warnings are pointless because, well, you don't get any in real life. Or they believe a good way could be just facing it front on. But trigger warnings are a whole can of worms to open in another video, but all I can say is that my stance is quite neutral on it. I do not agree with the pro side or the op side. I could agree with both to an extent, but not all the way. Argument. It's harmful to the artist and can expose themselves to people who will hurt them. They believe that if mainly young people or people who are just sensitive in general who post their vent art are letting a door open for people to take advantage of it, and that they should stay away from posting it. The pro side's rebuttal, since that is true to some degree, but some art can be vent art but be discreet. For example, one of my favorite artists is Carmen Craze. Her art is vent art, especially her old kinds of work. But as I, the viewer, have no idea what provoked her to draw it. She usually doesn't talk about what made her to draw her art unless she stated it in a description. For example, in one of her posts where she was venting, which seemed discreet, she wrote in the description what it was about, and it was about how she was dealing with BPD and how she was working to improve herself, and she's proud of how she's dealing with her BPD in the current day and how she dealt with it in the past. Sometimes in her streams, she would talk about the meanings behind it. One time she said that this piece was about her birthdays when she was younger and how she didn't have many good ones, but this was one of the good ones that she vividly remembered. I didn't even know what provoked her to draw it when I first saw the piece, before she said it. With this particular piece, someone can't use this piece against her. This gives a bittersweet vent to it. By the way, vent art can express any emotion that is not negative, or can be negative too, which she has done too. She has drawn her and her boyfriend from time to time, which is her venting / expressing her happy emotions. Of course, people could take someone's art and use it the wrong way against them because it was too much information, or they weren't handling abuse well, or something else. That has happened tons of times with other artists, but it doesn't happen to every artist. So that statement was very much a blanket statement. I don't think someone can use a happy moment against you unless it's oh yeah, your mom baked you that birthday cake because she made you try to distract you because your grandpa died and she didn't want to tell you. But how would a stranger use that against you if you're expressing a happy moment when your mom made you that cake? I mean, yeah, they could try and insult you about it, but you know for sure that's not the truth. Maybe your mom made it because it was your 5th birthday party and that was Transformers themed or something like that. And for discrete vent art, it would have to be the viewer's interpretation of their art. And someone's interpretation of someone's art isn't always going to be correct. Can that still cause some harm to a degree? Yes, but it doesn't apply to all. Argument. Vent art is always negative. Vent art isn't exactly negative. In fact, venting could be positive or negative or neutral. For example, someone could be venting about how thrilling it was for them to come to terms about being ARAs. Or it could be about how they bittersweetly miss an old friend and then meet them again and feeling that of reviving a friendship. Or becoming friends with someone you deemed an enemy for years. And it could be a good way to express yourself in art. For example, in my Crave works, I wrote my antagonist to be from the main character as a way to vent this excitement of making a new friend, making a friend that I called a foe for so long, and how a new future with them can look good. Argument. It's not okay to post it because the art itself is therapeutic, not posting it. The people who believe this believe that making the art is what gets you to release all those negative emotions, right? So why would you post it for everybody to see? They believe it should be private and just for you to see, just for you to look at. That's what they believe. However, the pro side rebuttal is that you can post the art and people can agree to you on it. For example, maybe you're talking about, you're venting about your parents getting divorced. People have had their parents divorced. A lot of people have divorced parents and they can relate to that, and they're like, hey, me too, my parents are divorced and it wasn't fun when it first happened, but here we are now and I'm doing so much better. You can relate on that and you guys can both talk about it. That's how it is. And that is, I also feel like I need to mention, but because I didn't put this later on, but here is editor me. So I also realized that a lot of people argued that it's not okay to post it because it's just it's only for you to create it, and a lot of the reason is because therapy art is like that. When you make art with that therapist, it later on gets destroyed and no one sees it anymore, and they feel like that should be with every vent art piece. While someone has talked about how it actually goes, and it says that their therapist gives them hey, do you actually want to keep it? Do you want to just maybe some others can see it. Like, they give you like the choices and they do it with your permission. That's how it works. So that's how it is. Cool. So what is my take? So, is it okay to post fan art? Yeah, I think it's a great way to express yourself. People can connect to your art and feel what you're also feeling. Like most things, I think it's fine if you do it in moderation, or you get proper warnings, put it in the right place, right time, and all of that. Anyway, that's my take on this. Have a good night, morning, afternoon. Do some of that laundry, and I like your art. I do enjoy it. Tell me how you think about this whole situation in the comments below. Just don't argue with each other. That'd be really nice. Join the Jaiden Nation. Okay, bye.